Hello, how's it going?
Not too bad. And you?
Yeah, I can't complain. Well, I could, but who would listen? So you got your hair cut at long last?
Yeah, I suppose it had to be done. But interestingly, my mother-in-law preferred the hippie look.
Fascinating woman, that.
So what have you been up to? Have you kept yourself busy since retirement?
Retirement? That's a joke. I seem to be busier than ever.
So you haven't fallen down the rabbit hole of YouTube then?
No, I've done my fair share of that. I think I've seen every dash cam recorded car crash in Russia. What about you?
Well, after years of good intentions, I decided to read the Bible in a year.
And how did you get on?
What do you think? I failed, didn't I? I'm about 2/3 of the way through.
Well, that's 67%. Grade B.
Ever the teacher.
So what version are you using?
I went for the Eugene Peterson's The Message remix.
Not the King James or NIV?
I thought about it, but this one sets out what you should read each day, and the translation's quite interesting when he tries to put it into the modern vernacular.
Ooh, vernacular. Who are you trying to impress? Well, is it any good?
Good may not be the word that comes to mind, but it is certainly fascinating.
Have you got to the New Testament yet?
Well, that's what's good about this version. It links Old Testament books with New Testament books each day, which is good because there's only so much death and destruction it can cope with.
I know what you mean. I could handle the first 5 books of the law, but then the prophet books seem to go on endlessly about the wayward Israelites.
So have you read it all then?
I'm about the same place as you.
That figures. So what do you make of it all then?
Well, there's no short answer to that. On one level, there's an awful lot of detail that's just hard to accept. But then we live in such a different culture now. We're acutely aware of our own individualism. That didn't seem to be the case in the Old Testament stories.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But then they didn't have the experience of centuries of scientific investigation and discovery. And given that, it's amazing how insightful of human nature it is at times.
I totally agree, especially in the New Testament. I'm frequently struck by how real the language is. It tunes into what I would consider a very modern way of thinking.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes it sounds as if it could be said yesterday.
Is that down to Peterson's translation from the Greek and Hebrew?
To some extent, but I think it's more to do with the way it tunes into and understands the sensitivities and vulnerabilities of the human condition. I guess the anxiety and concerns of people 2,000 years ago were very similar to those of today.
I know what you mean. We think we're so much more sophisticated now because we can instantly communicate wirelessly across the world. And back then, they still believed the world was flat.
Is it not?
Don't go there.
I guess what impresses me is that regardless of how much about everything we now know, we're still basically the same animals with the same appetites, concerns and insecurities.
If you mean we're just as tribal.
Save that for another time.
I don't think there's much chance of that.
But regardless of how well it is or isn't written, do you believe it?
The whole belief thing. Now there's the rub. I suppose in all honesty, there are days when you wake up and wonder if you've been deluding yourself all these years and you're envious of the certainty other people have.
So you don't believe?
Well, that doesn't follow either, because there are then days when you feel you're being looked after. You believe that even thinking these things couldn't possibly come from the random movement of molecules. There's got to be more to it.
But why does that mean God and only your interpretation of that?
Well, that's back to the old faith thing again. And that needs a lot more consideration. However, I will say that when I look at what Jesus is reported to have said, I can't see a better blueprint for living a fulfilled life.
So why Presbyterian, Anglican, Baptist, Catholic, Brethren?
You mean religion? Well, we're only human after all.
Don't. Please don't sing.